Welcome to Huddle Up. We're back again with another exciting episode this week, along with Rob Clark, who's in the captain's chair. We have head coach Drew Gallardy. Coach Gallardy, thanks for joining us. I know it's been a
Welcome,
long
Coach.
day. Coach is in the middle of spring ball, and it's a lot, I'm sure. Coach, let's jump into it real quick here and just give us an update on the schedule change that happened this past week.
Yeah, so I think it was actually the first day that we had spring practice planned, our first one. We found out that our opponent that we had scheduled for a week zero game, I guess wasn't going to be involved in what was going on this fall. They kind of dropped out of the situation. So not only does it cost you when you're trying to play 11 games to lose one of them, to lose one of those games at this point of the year. And we only need the one non-conference game to schedule to have it be that one was pretty difficult. But it's also a lot of other moving parts. So it's a week zero game. Our kids can come in a week. Our camp could start a week earlier. When that went away, there was a lot of different pieces that were at play just a couple of weeks ago. But we were able to think on our feet a little bit, in talking to us, a group of coaches, and also downstairs with Jeff and Carrie being involved. The first thing we did is, looked at maybe keeping camp at the same time. So that's why we reached out to Lock Haven, a conference opponent, and just had to ask those guys if they'd be interested in the change for us. And their coaches were super pumped because they could start camp early then too. So that was a pretty quick kind of thumbs up from those guys to make that change. And now we knew week one or week two, we were able to look and find somebody, and we were lucky enough to luck into somebody that's pretty regional. That'll be a nice test. And it's also a Thursday night game, week two, so it spaces out. The schedule actually spaces out pretty nice. We still have our week zero game with Lock Haven now. Then we actually hit a bye. But then Thursday night, we'll play Wesleyan. We'll go to West Virginia Wesleyan and play them Thursday night. So it's not like we're sitting on our hands for 2 weeks. We'll have a Thursday night game. And then that will also give us the weekend to prep for IUP because we know that they're, always a tough task and a fun game. So it actually spaces us out pretty nice considering that we were dealt kind of a tough hand a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure you had to hustle to make it all come
Yeah.
together. Short time.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
gotta do it with enough,
here
and
I
now
am
you gotta
trying to
do
get
it with
ready
the
for my
schedule
first
change.
practice, and the AD comes in and goes, "Yeah, we lost a game." Like, all right. So I don't know if it was luck or hard work. It's probably a combination of both that we were able to find 11 games
Yeah.
and have 11 games that are also still kind of workable for kids and coaches, considering we don't normally have a bye. And
Yeah.
we were looking at a bye week this upcoming year, regardless of what happened with our opponent that was scheduled. So we still have a bye, but with the Thursday night game, tried to make chicken salad out of what.
Yeah. Thursday night is pretty cool. That'd be a cool game.
That is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it allow us to it fits inside the kind of radius of us staying overnight. But anytime you play a night game, whether it's Thursday or Saturday, you don't never know it's a good idea. So we can be creative with the travel situation for the guys. The weekend then following the Friday, Saturday, Sunday is something that we can weaponize again going into IUP then before we actually start playing our East game. So
Yeah.
again, being dealt a tough hand, whether it was luck or hard work, some combination, we found a solution that's pretty workable, and that's months from now. We're dealing with with our spring practice right now. So
Well, speaking of, spring
Yes.
practice has just recently started. Most of our alumni, that's what they're curious about. How are things going? What are you seeing from our team?
yeah, and when seeing that question being asked, one of the first things I actually thought and how to answer it was going back to the first team meeting that we had this semester, going back to, I think it was the Thursday after Martin Luther King Day. And I basically had every returner, so guys that were on the roster last year that were still on the roster, after Coach Mack's announcement, the transition, stuff like that. I had all those guys in that meeting in Grove stand up and kind of acknowledge them that they, one, stuck with us during the transition,
Yes.
but two, also credit them to probably make the biggest step forward for our program as we're going into this upcoming fall. And that is, I've been around a lot of winning football and a lot of losing football. I've seen it all and everything in between. And when you're fixing things, there's steps to it, so you got to lose big, you got to lose little, then that leads you into winning little, and that leads you into winning big. And we've traditionally been a win big team, right? So we're working back to return to form. I actually think just in the 2 years that I've been back, 24, maybe candidly, you guys saw it, you guys watched it. Maybe we were a lose big team, from September into November. And not a lot of changes. I don't want to say like there wasn't, positives in the year, because there were, like any other year. But I actually think if you're a fan of the program or you're just watching us play, from September last year to November of last year, those kids did a good job of making us a lose little team. So what does that mean? You're just like more competitive. So the last 2 games of the year, if you look at what the kids did against Westchester, maybe our first complete victory in a long, long time, offense, defense, and special teams. And then you go into the last game, Coach Mack makes his announcement, you got all that stuff going on, and you have a nationally ranked team, a regionally ranked team, a playoff team, and Cal show up, and the kids play them to a 1-possession game going into halftime. So in those last 8 quarters the kids have played, what a great job. And I know we were 1-1 in those 2 games, but it's been a while since we could look at us in 8 quarters at that caliber of opponent and be in those fights. So I had all those kids stand up and acknowledge, hey, you guys actually moved a boulder that's probably the hardest thing to move. So that's where we are right now. We have momentum, and it's to the kids' credit. We have momentum, going out of how they played those last couple games there at the end of the season, especially in November. And we've just been running with that since. They were really good in the weight room. I credit all of our coaches that are in the building here in working really hard and again, being dealt a pretty tough hand and putting a class together. It needed to be big. It needed to address pretty much every room that we have to deal with. And I think we did a pretty good job. I don't think every box was checked, but I do think we checked a lot of them. And it was a scary situation end of November, mid-December, whether we're going to get the quality or quantity that we need in the class, regardless of what the announcement was. For me, the date for me was December 23rd, and it was still a question on December 24th if the class would come together. And I think we found a way to make the class a strength. And also specifically to address your spring practice question, I don't want to say this with a bunch of confidence, but I don't know how many of the guys in the class we're really going to have to count on. I think a lot of rooms, the guys that are practicing for us right now, we should be able to trust a lot of guys that are practicing right now, and hopefully for the first time again, maybe in a couple of years, not have to count on a bunch of immediate dudes. Now, if there's a kid that can play, we'll put him out there.
Sure.
But we have to get consistent. So if I know who my first 5 are at the end of spring, and they're the same 5 to start of summer, and they're the same 5, week 0 against Lock Haven, we're going to be better. Mm-hmm. We're going to be better if we're able to do that, but over these next couple of months. So I think 2 things can be true in kind of tying a bow on where we are in spring practice. I think the kids, again, have made a lot of progress going into November, what they've done strength conditioning wise and through our first 7 practices. But there's also some truth that we still have a long way to go. Sure. We are on the right path, but there are still many, many bricks that need to be laid, or many, many steps that you have to have happen. So, there's progress while at the same time knowing the path is still a long one for us.
Well, Coach, you and I kind of talked about it briefly earlier that, the teams, there's been situations and scenarios where you have a championship team, and the 2 years prior to that, the team was not that good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's that building up, that development of the guys that are coming along, and all of a sudden, boom, champions,
Yeah, you're referencing when your 81 team, what team you said?
I try not to talk about 81 too much, but yes.
Oh, that's okay. You can talk about 81. You can talk about 81. You said in 80, it was 4-6, right?
Yeah, 4-6, and then 5-5 the year before that.
And then us in 09, we finished the regular season 9-3, I think. But
Right.
The year previously, we were 4-7.
Mm-hmm.
We were 4-7. So
yeah.
I'm not saying that these kids are the 09 or the 81 team. I don't want to put that style pressure on them.
Right.
But I can say that I do think they're working really hard to develop momentum. And maybe it's not, 81 but maybe it is something that's leading us to that down the road, which
Right.
is a huge step for the kids.
Nice.
Yeah. Now you've gone from playing the game at Ship, then you were, assistant coach, OC, now head coach, man. What has been the biggest difference or, shocker that you've experienced as head coach?
I mean, the best way I could answer your question and the most honest way I could answer your question is like when I first came back, it was, early August, late July. There was some catching up for me to do to make sure I was up to speed with everything Coach Mack was doing and everything we were doing on offense because I had coached defense for like 12, 13 years prior.
Yeah.
And then the change happened in the summer, with the coordinator tag. And I hate to break it to you, it was again just kind of catch up mode. And you're not operating. I don't want to say you're not operating from a position of strength, but you're not operating position of strength for me as the O-line coach and the offensive coordinator. And I'm here to tell you, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that there is on-the-job training daily for me. Daily learning occurs, whether it's in the staff meeting, on the practice field, in a meeting anywhere on campus. Like it is just every day learning new experiences stuff. And it's also with the administrative tasks and requirements. I'm so used to, okay, you're the offensive line coach, you have this responsibility. I do it, and every T gets crossed and every I gets dotted. That's a lot harder to do in this role. That's a lot harder. I just watched the Blackberry. I just watched the Blackberry movie. I don't know if you guys watched it. It's awesome. I recommend you watch. It's on Netflix. There was a quote in it that perfect is the enemy of good. And it really hit me as having this responsibility in that I've always worked so hard to be, it's perfect's a tough word, right? But I've always worked so hard to be perfect in everything that's going on. Now, because you do have to wear so many hats and you get pulled so far away from football sometimes, it's hard to be the offensive coordinator who's in here Friday night for a couple of hours, making sure the call sheet is exactly the way you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't have the same amount of time to plan your indie, as an offensive line coach when you were just that, now having this responsibility. So yeah, I'm being honest with you guys. It's been catch up for me for the past 2 years, and entering year 3, I think it'll still be the same situation. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Maybe this time next year we won't be playing catch up as much.
Now we're all backing you, man.
We are.
You got this. You got this.
Well, hey, you're getting a lot of press and media coverage, and you've done a great job with all the interviews I've seen. But what has that been like?
Different. It's not something I'm used to at all. I don't want to sound not grateful for those interactions and for those things to happen. Because again, it's a new rule, and with that comes new responsibility. And one of the coolest things about anybody reaching out about any of that stuff, whether it's the magazine cover that came out, this week, or any of the interviews that you guys have seen, yeah, sure, they might have an interest in me, they might have an interest in my story, but ultimately it comes back to the football program. So if the university is seen more in other places because I get asked like that, I'm gonna attack those situations as best I can. So if our football program is on more computer screens, it's on more phones, it's on more televisions, sign me up for that in any way, shape, or form, because it's not always going to be that way. So I'm glad you guys think it's going well. I just try to do things as honestly, whether it's in this now or anybody that comes in, just try to be honest with them. And the one thing that I've really worked on these first couple of months is I always go back to my interview experience and those questions that the committee had for us were the first one was based on culture, the second was based on values. So I've just tried to make sure that presentation and that discussion that I had that day when I had the opportunity to be interviewed for the responsibility, that I'm living that out and being on brand and marketing us in the football program in the way that I did when I was in front of those 6 people, when I was in front of Jeff and Carrie, when I was in front of the president. I want to sound the same that day as I do moving forward. So we're working really hard to make sure that's how we sound and that's how we act.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
Yep. And every time Ship is on, like you said, TV, it also helps recruiting.
Oh, yeah.
People, oh shit, yeah. And,
Mhm.
sorry, but that's going to open some eyes. And again,
Mhm.
you're doing a great job with it.
Yeah.
The coolest part for me is like I'm also hearing from a lot of, alums, whether they're my age or not, that are just pulled back to the university because of me being here, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, which that excites the crap out of me,
Mhm.
That's cool.
that
Yeah.
really does. Like I was pretty distant from the university for a long time. So every time, over the course of the past decade or two that I did have a chance to come back for whatever it was, like if I was coaching, we had a bye game and I made a game 7, 8 years ago, it was always a cool experience to come back. So if I'm helping people have that, whether it's a homecoming situation, a football game, a golf, whatever it is, I'll do as much as that as anybody, as Bill wants, as marketing wants, or as anybody reached. Like if that's what's happening with these interactions, well then I'll do all of them and more.
Cool. Now this week we got a couple weeks out. We're gonna have the actual, we'll call it spring game practice, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And the alumni coming back for the reunion on April 10th and 11th. We hope we get a lot of guys back. I'm very excited about the number of guys that have been responding, and it looks like we're gonna have a pretty good crowd that weekend. Can you talk about Saturday game day? What you guys are going to put on the field, maybe, and how the alumni can be a part of that
Yeah.
and
So well, the first thing I'd say about it is with the press comments that you guys just asked and the interviews and the media coverage and stuff, and my saying I wanted us to sound, similar to that day. Like if you go back to the video that marketing did for the announcements, one of the biggest parts of that, and they did a great job, and there was a lot of compliments I got of that. One of the biggest parts of the video that's really gone and ran wild is kind of the end when I'm tapping the championship family thing. Um, Coach Mack would tell you he's the one that put all the signs everywhere, the championship family stuff. But when we won the league, Coach Rees referenced it in the post game presser. So that's something that I'm continuing to push forward, like the merch and stuff like that. So the
Nice.
fact that it is now a practice, I like that change that Coach Mack made. I really, really do. Um, when I was here the whole time, it was a spring game, and most people are used to spring games. But actually, if you pay attention to college football at a lot of levels, more and more people are kind of switching to the Coach Mack model and the practice thing and scoring drills differently and so on and so forth. So, like, championship family is something we're pushing very hard inside of our offices and our locker room. And I would kind of market that day in the same way and kind of call it Championship Family Day. So nobody gets confused that it's not a spring game. It's just a situation for you guys as alums and also our current players' families and coaches' families. Like that's a day for us to just get together because one, I like the way Coach set it up. But two, I love what you guys do and that opportunity impact that you guys have on our current roster with what you guys do Friday night into Saturday. So the practice right now is scheduled to start at 11, and the first half of practice will be a practice. And most pretty much everybody that's there has access to what's going on. The second half of practice would be a setup a little bit more scrimmage like, a little bit more spectator friendly, but still in a practice setting. We're not going to have officials for the game. We'll do that as coaches. But I do have plans at the end of the game to just kind of have a true overtime for everybody that's there to make it more of how do I say this? Visitor friendly, I guess, more of a cool kind of pleasing to the eye end, if you will. So it's Championship Family Day, more focused on the family day aspect of the weekend, where anybody, any walks of life, by the way, our class is also invited to it as well. Those 40 some odd high school kids, they're invited to it as well with their families. So
Nice.
just to get as many people back to campus, see kind of our kids, and because we only have one practice left after that day, we will have one left,
Mhm.
but just one.
Yeah.
So kind of calling it Championship Family Day and just letting everybody know it's a time for alumni, a time for our current players, their families, you guys and your families, my family and my boys, just a chance to get together and hang out and just enjoy each other's company and be back on campus.
There's
Nice.
another, and then just to mention, you mentioned it to me earlier, Coach, a quick change. You're going to be speaking at the Raider Club tent prior to the game, prior to practice at 10:30.
Yeah, the tent will be set up out in the practice fields, and I will be out there at 10:30, kind of addressing everybody. And my plan is to go over the thing that I alluded to with you guys on here. What we talk about in terms of culture, what we talk about in terms of the values, and then also open it up to questions to anybody that's there that might have an interest in asking questions during that time. So everybody kind of has a chance to interact with me there during the course of before that practice, a half an hour before we start. So
Now we're excited for the weekend. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a great time. All right, something else kind of related. Ship Gives is coming up here on April 7th and 8th for that 24-hour window. You're excited about this fundraising opportunity for football. Give us an update.
And so I actually have big plans for ShipGives moving forward in terms of like, maybe even make it a fundraiser for our current roster as
A
best we
graphic. There you
can.
go. This is my graphic. I'll make it full screen whenever we edit it. But yeah.
So it's just a day that the university has targeted. You can kind of see it across all campuses. And it's just a time for, and what I hope to do with our current roster and moving forward is kind of use it as a fundraiser for those guys too. You guys know you pay attention to the online world, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, whatever it's called, it happens and it happens. It can make large impacts sometimes. So the university has their day of giving, us being tied into it and part of it is huge. So I want our kids to be aware of it. I want all of our social medias to be alive and well, hyping up the 7th and the 8th, because the best way I could answer why this is an important thing is, again, going back to the interview and going back to the first time I met with you guys. Like, my whole campaign was based off of like, nothing's going to have to change. Everybody else that you bring in here is going to want this, that, and another different. No, I just want what we have, and I want to work with what we have. Well, we go through recruiting, and it's like, oh, it'd be nice to have a couple extra dollars now that recruiting's over. And
I
then,
bet.
you look at the budgetary things and you look at what's going on. Like, we are heading down the tracks of needing in-helmet communications. So you guys have been watching us. You see that replay's a thing for us now.
Yeah.
It played actually a large role in the Westchester game. Replay overturned, I believe, a fumble, an incomplete pass that was ruled a fumble. They made it incomplete. We got the ball back. It was huge. It's part of the drill. So like modern technology that you're seeing happening on Sundays is always trickling down. So we are speeding, college football is speeding towards those green helmets, those green dots that you'd see. So like, for instance, that's an expense that Coach Mack didn't have, Coach Rees didn't have, nobody had, and we're probably going to have it. So it's just things like that, that if we have a strong effort and ShipGives, that it can help that situation. And then also, once you get it kind of going and rolling, whether it's the current roster or any alumni moving forward, just knowing it's something that's there. Again, being a guy in December that's saying nothing needs to change, looking at the books and seeing stuff,
Yeah.
every little bit helps, honestly. And I do have delusions of grandeur for it too. Probably not this spring, but next spring, and maybe making it a competition inside of our team, whether it's an offense-defense competition or it's a position group competition, just to drive it in a number of different ways.
Well, I know, and just to bring a little bit of clarity to it for the guys who are watching, there's always some confusion. It's just like, well, I want my money to go to football, and I'm going to put the QR code up and things like that. But you definitely, we're doing this as a football group. Like players, alumni. We want to support the football program, so you're going to make sure you want the money to go to the right spot. You want it to go to the football program. So we'll have that information up on the screen so guys can get there, find it, and put their money in the right spot.
Yeah, the website's up, and there's actually going to be, you won't even see the other teams, but there's actually running counts for each team that day. So
Right.
like when you go in and you check us and you throw $5 in, $50 in, $500 in, whatever it is, like you will see that added to our total. And
Hmm.
also inside of the department, there's two ways to win. One is just the total number. The other is the number of donors. So if you are one person and you throw $1 in, you've increased our number overall, but you've also increased our number of donors in terms of the competition that exists inside of the athletic department. So if we can win the amount of people that throw money into our pot and then also the size of it, that would be a cool start to this thing.
And it's interesting you say that because I did notice that when you go onto the site, it starts off with a base number of $250, and I think it's
Yeah.
important for guys to know that that's not like what you have to kick in.
Mhm.
You can kick in 10, 5, whatever, 50. It's your call.
Yeah, and you and I talked in the office, right? Like I actually have hopes of, like, again, not this spring, not in the coming weeks, but like maybe even showing what your donation would actually work towards. Like, all
Yeah.
right, if you give $50, it's a pair of O-line gloves. If you give $250, now it's a new helmet for us.
Right.
If you throw in $1,500, you're actually taking care of an overnight meal for us. You know, you're feeding kids coming home from the bus. So like, regardless of whatever money you have, whatever money thought you have in your mind, well, like if you give directions that this is a helmet, this is that, that you can visualize what you're actually helping doing for the
Yeah.
program. That's something I like to have moving forward.
All right, man. So it seems like all we do is ask for money anymore, but I know the golf outing is coming up in May, and I know we want to talk about that a little bit because once again, it's a big fundraiser for the program.
And it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's a blast. I mean, it really is.
Especially those of us that aren't good golfers.
Right, exactly. It doesn't even matter if you can golf, but I think that the thing about it is we've talked, Coach, is that we want more alumni, getting involved in it. And I've had some guys reaching out asking me about dates. What can you tell us about the golf outing and where that stands?
It actually just got posted on a website. So we've arrived.
Nice.
Okay, we've arrived. Everything's live. I've kind of gone through all the steps that needs to happen. And I actually just saw that it was yesterday last year that we posted the link last year. So we're actually not too far off a schedule with the registration and stuff like that for the golf outing. A theme that I've had in all of these things, whether it's the recruiting visits, practice, like one of the themes that I've had is it's very hard to make like drastic changes if I wanted to, like if you guys can sympathize with that.
Oh yeah.
But I love golf. Like I'm not a golfer, but I play it, if you understand. I love
I get
golf.
it.
So this day, I love the fact that the Rocky Rees outing is a thing. And I think when you experience these things, at whether they're any of our places or just college athletics in general, they're one of two things. One is they try to throw it in your face that this is a fundraising situation. That's what this situation is. And the other one is kind of what ours is, get together and have a good time. I want to strike a balance. I want to really strike a strong balance that
Mhm.
it is something that, again, maybe helps get an extra helmet inside of the locker room, or if there is an extra expense that pops up that we're not, struggling in those situations. But man, is it also something that I just want you guys to get together and have a good time playing golf and then breaking bread at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That will never not be what the Rocky Rees is.
Mhm.
I have plans, even though I do like to play golf, my thought is I'm just going to hang out at a par three.
Mhm.
Maybe be grilling hot dog for you guys out there. Maybe give you an extra shot off the tee box
There
so
you
that
go.
everybody's at the outing will interact with me on that day.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that I'm able to hang out with you, and maybe I'll have the cooler next to me too.
There you go.
But so again, there's not going to be a lot of drastic changes to the golf outing that you guys know in terms of location, time, all that stuff, and even kind of how it works and goes off. Um, Once again, I get my feet underneath me a little bit more, and we have a little bit more time to prep for these things. Maybe this time next year there might be some different changes and approaches to what's going on. But if I can get this year's outing, full of people and have it be a friend raiser, if you will. Just make sure you guys get together, have a good time. Maybe I'll even do a little bit of a State of the Union too, going into summer for us, where we're at with everything. Just address you a little bit more in an official capacity there as well. But yeah, if I can have the outing that you guys know, but just get more people
Yeah.
that played for us and tied to the university at it, that would be the goal for this year. And it's the 16th. And
All
All
right,
right,
so
Coach.
RR4L now has over 100 members. Okay, we have a bunch of reunion sponsors. How is this benefiting football financially, but maybe more importantly, emotionally?
I've already taken that narrative with you guys back, as the offensive line coach. If you go back to the first time I was here with Huddle Up with you guys, under Coach Mack, I told you my experience, and the line that I have for RR4L is my lived experience, right? Like, so all I knew when I was a player here from alumni relations was, again, I did this joke already, but just a weirdo hanging out with you at Wibbs on homecoming. You guys have driven that so far past for our present roster And again, that's why I am so, I don't want to say frustrated, or I'll use hopeful. I'm so hopeful that guys my age get more and more tied into what you guys are doing and how you're doing it. Because what you know is whether it's the golf outing or whether it's championship family day or whether it's coming to a home game in the fall, you guys place value in those situations and you prioritize doing that, whether it's once or multiple times a year. But you have to shuffle the deck in order to do it. You have to shuffle the deck. You don't always have time. You don't always have availability, but it is a priority to you. You make sure you get it done. So what you guys do in the friend raising category and just getting people back on campus, but also more importantly, the impact that you have on our present day roster, on our current players, putting names to faces. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I whether I'm the offensive line coach, the offensive coordinator, or the head coach, I really struggle with this group of 70-ish guys we have right now, appreciating what they have. Okay, appreciating the university, appreciating the people that are in it, appreciating the stadium that we have out there, appreciating the locker room that they now have. You know the locker rooms that you guys had while you were here. It did not look that way while I was here.
No.
So something I say inside of coaching, like to new guys that are being interviewed in a number of different spots, like Shippensburg football will be here next year, whether I'm here, right? Coach Mack's not going to be here next year. They're still going to play games. They're still going to play games.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm gone, they're going to play more games. And John Kuhn and Brent Grimes were wonderful football players during their time here. They still play games after they leave, right. So having those guys appreciate all the things that have led us to the situation and circumstances that we have. Because there's a lot of programs out there, but not all of them have the same traditions that we have, and not all of them have the same longevity of success. And I know we're working to get that back, but it doesn't take too much effort to look into 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, how things happen here. So you guys being around and sharing your story helps me in one of my biggest fights as a head coach, and which is these kids appreciating our situation and our circumstances and our setup, because you guys know kids will walk away from it pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure, you have 1 year of success, you're gone somewhere else. Not everywhere you go is Shippensburg.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might have had a good year as a starting sophomore here. You might start somewhere else as a junior, but it's a dramatically different experience.
Yeah, it's family.
So you guys do a great job in one of my biggest fights, which is guys appreciating what we have and where we do it, and also who we represent while we do it.
Nice.
That's good.
Well, it's going to be a big weekend, and we got guys from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 2000s, all the way up coming. So I think it's going to be a good turnout. And man, we'll be cheering you on, Coach. So I appreciate the time. Thanks for staying late at the office, and I know it's a long one. And
the only thing that I'll add here about the weekend. Okay, the only thing I'll add here about the weekend, you guys will have similar access, but I do want to be careful in where you guys are standing, okay, based off last year's situation. Okay, last year Taylor Davis got.
We're not going to name names.
Last year, Last year Taylor Davis got ran into. I'm okay if it's Taylor.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't have it happen to some of these other people that we just referenced. So I might be directing traffic a little bit more in terms of where you guys can be and can't be.
That's fine.
All right. We might still leave Taylor in the middle of everything, but everybody else is going to have to maybe be in a different spot, locale, situation.
That's fine. No, we don't have to get that close. Taylor was too close. He still wants to.
We can't get away from the drills as easily as we used to be able to.
You realize that quick, right? Yeah.
All right, Coach. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the time. Good luck with everything, and we'll see you on April 11th.
Yeah. Before
Coach, always nice catching up with you. See you in a couple weeks.
Before you cut it off, again, appreciate obviously you two guys. I know that you're face this stuff a lot of times, but it's more than just you two guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So incredibly appreciative of what you guys do, and I think I said this to you in the first podcast too, because I lived the experience of Sunday morning, When we have one more point, you guys feel like you're part of it. When we don't have one more point, it cuts you for a little bit. It might throw you off a little bit that upcoming week. So I promise you, everybody in here is doing everything we can to make sure that Sunday morning situation is the feeling that you want to have, because it's a shared experience for me.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Coach.
All righty. Thanks, Drew. See ya.
Yep.